guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Louise. Today is the official launch of my very first collection. It's called Bird Portraits because it was the only name I could think of, and it's what it is. It's a collection of portraits of birds, 17 of them to be exact. They are finally done, all of them, and I am so proud. So to celebrate this, I thought I'd walk you through the collection and talk a little bit about my experience, some lessons that I have learned along the way, some mistakes I've made, and some advice for other artists who are maybe planning on making their first collection. So let's go! So I've been painting seriously for 1 to 2 years now, depending on how you count. And for the first whole year, essentially, all I did was just paint for fun, to learn and to explore and to just relax. I talked about that in another video. You can check it out here or there. It's there, right? I think it's there. And this was absolutely the right way for me to do this. I could not have handled the pressure of producing like a cohesive body of work or anything like that. So I don't recommend anything else if you're just starting out, if you're a beginner artist, or if you haven't really reached that point where you have a feel for your style and what you want to accomplish. I think you need that freedom to just try out a bunch of different things and fail as much as you want without any pressure to like produce a body of work. So it was only a few months ago that I felt ready to transition to another way of working, because I just finished a semester of like online art school where I'd learned, you know, the basics of making art in both watercolor and acrylics. So I kind of felt more okay with calling myself an artist. Imposter syndrome. I also had a lot of more free time over the summer, and I felt I had kind of found a style. I'm saying a style, not my style, because I think you can have many styles as an artist and that your style can also change a lot over the years. Anyways, I had found a style of painting birds that I liked, that felt like mine. And most importantly, I felt very deeply for birds as a subject. There wasn't any doubt in my mind what my thing was and what I wanted to be known for. So I felt compelled to try this whole collection thing out, because I'd heard so many other artists talk about working in collections. And what does that mean? It just means that instead of producing like a painting at a time and putting it up, you plan out a whole series of paintings or sculptures or whatever it is you're working with around a particular theme. And that theme could be subject, or it could be a mood or a color theme or a medium or format or anything, essentially, as long as it's a unifying theme for the whole collection, and that you release these paintings as a group instead of just one at a time. I knew I wanted to make my first collection, but I kept changing my mind as to what that would be about. My first plan was to make a collection of just corvid paintings. Corvids, not COVID, okay? Ravens, crows, that sort of thing, not viruses, you get it. So, corvids. And I still want to do that. I still want to paint a collection of only crows and magpies and jackdaws and rooks and ravens. But at the beginning of summer, I just wasn't really feeling it with the corvids. I think I craved more color, and so I just spontaneously started painting these bird portraits. I really wanted to zoom in on their eyes and their faces and try to capture their personality. And my list of birds that I wanted to portray just grew longer and longer. I just decided to make that my first collection. So when I had decided that my first collection would be these bird portraits, I did what I will never do again, and I will not recommend anyone do, and that is to just start painting. I just jumped straight in. That's just how I do things. Just start. How hard could it be? What could go wrong? Turns out, a bunch of things. A bunch of things could go wrong. So the first one of them being that I didn't have enough materials prepared for these paintings. I ran out of watercolor paper halfway through, and I had to switch to another brand that I had. It just didn't look and feel the same. So lesson learned, gather all the materials that you will need before you start painting, so you have everything. The second thing that I did is that I used different brushes and different techniques on my birds. And I did this in the beginning when I hadn't really intended this to make this my first collection, so I was just painting birds for fun, and I tried out different techniques. And they all looked very different. I even made a video about this later, about how brush type affects painting style. You can watch it there. Lesson learned: commit to a specific style, use the same set of brushes, the same tools. If you're using like salt to create texture, use that throughout all of your paintings so that they look like they belong together. The third thing that I did wrong was that I didn't do any pre-sketching. I didn't plan out my compositions, didn't make any thumbnail sketches, didn't like visualize the whole collection up front, which also led to all of my paintings not really matching in size and position and framing. That's just the kind of thing that I don't like, you know. I want to be able to hang all of my paintings on the wall, and I want them to look like a unified whole. Lesson learned: always pre-plan the paintings up front, or be prepared to waste a lot of materials. And maybe even redoing the same painting several times. Because with watercolor you can't really salvage a ruined painting, you can't paint over it as with oils or acrylics. So maybe that's, you know, different for other types of painters. But yeah, for me it was a real struggle. I've had to trash a lot of paintings, either because I messed them up in some way, or they just didn't feel right, or I felt that they didn't belong among the other paintings. Some of them I managed to redo in sort of like the same style, and others I just had to leave out because I couldn't get them to work. I had planned for 20 birds in this collection, but only 17 remain. That's just how it is. So after I had struggled for a few weeks and trashed a lot of paintings, I decided to just restart the whole thing from the beginning and make it right this time. First thing I did then was to gather all of my reference photos from the beginning. All the birds that I wanted, and in the particular pose that I wanted, with the particular colors that I envisioned. And also thinking about how many of them looked to the right and how many looked to the left or to the front, so that I wouldn't make 20 paintings of birds all looking the same way, which would have looked a little comical. Next, I decided to just pre-sketch the entire collection, every single painting. And not only did this result in much better sketches, because I did them all in one fell swoop and I was already warmed up, so they're more accurate, and they all had like the same level of abstraction. And also it felt really good to have just started all of the paintings. Felt like the hard part was done, and now I just had to color them in. Of course it wasn't as easy as that, but it felt easier. And I also chose to paint all of the paintings fairly together, conveyor belt style, because I wanted to maintain the same style throughout. I'm always more rigid with my watercolors when I first sit down to paint, and then I loosen up over time. And I wanted these portraits to be sort of loose in the style, so that really helped. Major disclaimer: I'm not saying this method will work for everyone, or that this advice is relevant to all artists, because it's not. I think we all find our own process as we work. I think that's how it has to be. But you can still get a lot of inspiration from how other artists work, which is what I did. So that's what this video is for, to maybe give you some ideas and tips for how you want to work. Back to the video. Another thing that I really recommend is investing in mock-ups. Wow, I almost did this completely wrong. I had planned on spending a bunch of time and money and energy just buying frames and framing all of my paintings and running around my house trying to style them in a beautiful way, and no. Someone else has already done that for you. They're called mock-ups, and they exist on the internet for free. It's just a Photoshop file with some layers, and you just plop your artwork in there, and it looks like it's framed and on a wall in a beautiful space, and it's magic. I mean, look at these. Wow, my house doesn't look that nice and rustic and luminous. I don't have frames like that, or dried flowers or little weird sculptures. I have boring white IKEA furniture and cheap white photo frames. I couldn't have accomplished a look like this no matter how much I tried. And I don't have to! I bought these off of Etsy for like 35 bucks each. And then I spent a day just inserting my artwork in all these different scenes. And it's so worth it! I will do that for every new collection from now on. It saves you a lot of time, it elevates your artwork, and it also gives potential customers ideas for how they can frame and decorate with your art. So there you have it. My advice for you if you are considering making your first collection. I hope it helps you avoid some of the pitfalls that I have made and make some better decisions. I would love to know about your process. Do you work like this in collections, or do you work more intuitively on a painting by painting basis? Let's talk about it in the comments. If you want to know more about my bird portraits and maybe purchase prints or whatever, you can go to my website. The link is in the description. You can also follow me on Instagram. I share a lot of behind the scenes and works in progress there, and I would love to connect with you there. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.